Hey, I'm JD. Welcome to my channel. Please subscribe, please hit like, and what we're going to do today is go through the cleaning of an 1885 vintage pocket watch from Elgin Watch Company. It's Elgin National Watch Company, and somebody corrected me online here and said the case was an Elgin. It was a national, it wasn't Waltham, it was an American case company. So American Watch Case Company. I think that's what it was. You can correct me again. Anyway, I'm using lighter fluid to hand clean this watch. It's a very it takes a while. It's a very thorough way of hand cleaning the watch. Lighter fluid is a great degreaser. I decided to do this by hand just to make sure this watch gets the TLC that's needed. So I've used two brushes. This is the thicker brush I use to get the lighter fluid in there and get some of the gummy material off. I'm recording this at 4 times speed, so you could imagine it'd take quite a while to do a complete watch. And here I'm doing the ratchet wheel, so I'm doing various, that's the click for the ratchet. And I do them individually. Then I have watch paper that I use, and I take that watch paper and I basically I make sure that the watch paper is thick enough to absorb the lighter fluid once I put the part down on the watch paper. So here's a lever for the lever set watch, and then these are some of the setting mechanisms that also go into the pool. And yeah, so brushing all of the gum off is essential. I've got one glove on, that way I can grab the part. I'm not exposing my skin to the lighter fluid because safety is important. You should also wear a mask when you're doing this to make sure you're not breathing in lighter fluid the whole time you're cleaning. And here's the arbor for the mainspring, and that absolutely needs cleaning. I ordered a new mainspring yesterday, and it's coming in. Probably take 2 weeks before the thing comes in because it's coming through UK mail. It was actually cheaper for me than buying it from Casker or from Esslinger or any of the US companies, only because of the Canadian exchange rate and the fact the border cops kind of nail me with a procurement every time it's over 20 bucks, and I end up having to pay Canadian taxes on the US part. So not only do I have to pay for the exchange rate, but I also have to pay for the taxes. Here I'm doing the wheels. Later on you'll see me use Rodico on these as well, so I'm just getting any dirt and grime away from the wheel itself, but we'll deal with the teeth later on. Being very, very careful. Now you see how I'm taking a toothpick and putting it through the center spoke, and I'm sweeping downward here as I use a softer brush. I switched brushes, by the way, the one with the brown handle. That's a softer brush, and I'm making sure that I don't touch any of the parts with the metal part of that brush, so there's no risk here of bending apart. I'm putting them back into the tray even though they're wet, but they'll dry sitting in the tray without a problem. So they're not going to leak off a lot of lighter fluid. That happens later on when I'm dealing with the actual plates. So here with the this here needs to be. I want to dry this off really fast because lighter fluid will not loosen the shellac on the pallet fork, but I'm always concerned. So I basically take the pallet fork, clean it off, and then dry it off with a puffer extremely fast. So here I'm taking the parts away from the watch paper and trying to figure out where things should go. Now I don't want to lean that plate towards the gears, so I'm going to move the gears later on so I have real estate to lean that plate, and I don't want the plate crushing the gear or touching the pivots or anything like that. So everything's got to be put in the right place, so it's not going to, one part won't harm another part. Now here's the bezel ring here. I still have to find a crystal for this. I do have pretty large crystals for hunter watches with the actual lid that has to go down. So they're low dome crystals that you use for hunter watches. So I'm going to find myself a low dome crystals here. I'm adding more lighter fluid to do this part here. Now if you remember, I elected not to force that screw off up top. That's why I'm using lighter fluid. That will absolutely evaporate through all the mechanisms. And when you're talking about friction between the brass and the steel of the gears, it's not that bad. So lubrication of that is sort of marginally necessary, I'd say. But I will still be able to lubricate it. So I'm throwing in the hour wheel, the minute wheel, and I'm also cleaning this the dust ring here. So there's two of them that go in this watch, and you kind of slide them in. I think that's a really cool design for the watch case. Now the crown is it's a big monster crown. It's got some corrosion on it, and later on you'll see me removing that corrosion. But for now, just getting rid of the grease. And here I feel like I'm like throwing a rock here, right? And someone's got to sweep for me to get that rock to the right place. Yeah. So here, this is my bath. You see how dirty this thing is getting? This is all the dirt that's in the watch that will slow the watch down and will prevent it from operating at optimum speed. So here's the case. Now the case, I decided to actually use lighter fluid to clean as well. I was going to throw it into the ultrasonic cleaner, but I noticed that there's an inner case ring that you can see right around the complete inner bezel, or the inner part of the case. And I didn't want the lighter fluid will evaporate for sure. I didn't want water to be in there to potentially corrode anything in there. So I said, oh, I'll do this by hand. I'll clean up all of that stuff. There's this white dusty chemical that was on this case. I'm still not sure what that was, but I got rid of it with the lighter fluid. And after I do the lighter fluid, I lean in and do a whole lot of work on this case. And I use a product called Peak, P-E-A-K. You'll see that in a second. So right now I'm just making sure I'm getting the lighter fluid in every area to get rid of any grease or grime and potentially remove some fingerprints. So, and the lighter fluid actually does a great job for all of that. It is what people used, either naphtha or lighter fluid, back in the day when old people cleaned watches and they didn't have these machines. They didn't have electricity, for God's sake. So how the heck did they have cleaning machines? They didn't. They had no electricity. So they were using by hand cleaning these watches. And they were using naphtha, because they had that. I remember that in the old cowboy movies. So I always laugh at my own jokes, by the way, because I'm not sure whether you're laughing. You're probably not. So I'm going to laugh anyway, and I won't do any impressions. Gorbachev, take down that wall. There, that's my only impression today for all you folks that are fans of impersonators. That's a bad one, though. Nancy and I. There's another one for you while I'm cleaning this. So I've got the Rodico out right now, and I don't need to use a brand new piece of Rodico for this, but I'm trying to get any small pieces of dirt away from this. And I'm using a pegwood stick here to continue to get rid of stuff that I want to get rid of here. So the Rodico is great again. It'll capture any crumbs or pieces of stuff that's on this movement or on this case. So I get the case to a pretty good shape with the Rodico, clean that up nicely. And I think in a few seconds you'll see me use the Peak. I tack it with the Peak. That takes a lot of elbow grease, by the way, to use Peak and do that, but it restores that case if you look at the top. Even Rodico, even though that it's very good for cleaning the case, it won't do a very good job. See how crappy that looks inside? It won't do a very good job cleaning the inside of that. So you do need to use something else. So I decided that it still looks very vintage, but I decided to get rid of the corrosion on the inside of the case. This is coin silver, so probably a lot of it is just tarnish. But if you look at the Peak I have here, I'm just going to take out the bottle of Peak, and there we go, Peak, and then I lean in and put a little bit of Peak on there, and then lean in, Jerry, lean in, and I start rubbing this like crazy. After I get it onto there, I actually move the cloth around quite often. Put that down so it doesn't ruin my mat on a piece of watchmaker's paper, and then keep working at it. And this was the inner part of the case that was all black and dirty and looked like it. I don't know sure how that happened, but it looked pretty bad. So I worked very hard on the inside of this case. It actually exposed the serial number nicely for the case. But here it'll turn black on you as you work on it, and then you just flip the cloth around and keep working on it to basically turn that black into a shine. So here I needed to use even more Peak on this because it was pretty disgusting. And I want to get rid of this anyway, and this will stay nice and shiny. It'll tarnish like all silver does over time. It'll tarnish again. Maybe in a year's time it'll start tarnishing a bit, but unless the owner actually just shines it up occasionally. I just like shiny stuff, and it looks vintage on the outside, so there's no problem. On the inside, it looks like it's been professionally cleaned. And see, if you slow down that tape and have a look at what I've done, you'll see that it looked really good. And here I'm going with the peak again, and you can see the shine coming out here. And look at that. That is nice. It's really nice. And I'm doing it on the top and a little bit on the edges as well, to make sure that they get their day in court. And there we go. And that's beautiful. And then the inside of that lid, get rid of all that. And once you put the peak on, you can do it. And I do the edge too. The edge should look good too. So I use the leftover that's on the cloth to do the edge. And I clean the crap out of that too. And again, this is 4 times, so you're seeing quite a slow process sped up, just so you don't get too bored and suicidal watching me and listening to me talk. So there we go, and I've got that. Now I want to get some of the inside of that, so just roll the cloth up and work on the inside a bit. And I wanted to put a little bit on the outside of that case to get rid of any tarnish on the outside that might ruin the look. It still looks very good. I put a little bit of peak on this one here because I saw that maybe there's some grime I want to get rid of. I said I would keep this vintage looking, but oh my god, it still looks very vintage. So there's no issue there at all. And I just think it looks nicer from an 1885 pocket watch looking this nice. I think it's a good thing. You can throw your comments in there and tell me what you think. But it's looking very nice right now inside a case. And now I'm doing the face. So here I use Rodico every time. I also use a piece of pegwood sometimes when there's a piece of dirt stuck on it. But the Rodico does a great job cleaning up the face. You just have to be very careful. And because the Rodico bends, you don't put a lot of pressure on the face, so there's no chance of there we go, get the pegwood out and clean that up a bit. There's no chance of cracking the face doing that because the Rodico bends. So, and I'm using the pegwood here to clean that up as much as I can, again, and it's sitting on the dial feet on the other side. So there, I've got that done. Now I'm going to do a little bit of work on the bezel. So what I want to do is get rid of any leftover glue or dirt that's inside the bezel ring to get it prepared for installing the new crystal. So it takes a bit of work to do that, but I use a screwdriver to do it, and I do it on the flat part of the bezel ring, and then I go on the upper edge of the bezel ring as well. So here I got a piece of Rodico again to pick up any of the flakes, and that again works exceptionally well to pick up any dirt and grime. And I use the Rodico again on the plates, and that will remove any finger marks, fingerprints, or grime in there too. And keep an eye on, I could feel the banking pins there, and I said, oh, get away from those. Don't ruin that. So I did that plate, then I did the upper plate here on both sides, and it just brings out the nice shine on that plate and gets rid of any potential fingerprints from the past and just makes it stand out. I still have to clean the jewels, by the way, and I'll peg out the jewel holes here, and I do need to do the balance as well. I didn't show how I do the balance here, but there are the dust rings. They're semi rings here, probably about 90-degree rings, and there's 2 of them, and I'm doing the cap for the barrel on the inside. Make sure there's no dirt in there because that's essential for the power coming out of the watch comes out of the barrel, so you want to make sure that that's really clean. Fold that stuff over to clean it. So you fold over the Rodico, you pull it, fold it over, and kind of it helps to refresh it as you use it, right? So there I'm using it again, and I think I'm getting close to the end. So now I'm rolling the wheels on the Rodico to get rid of any dirt that's in the wheels. The wheels and the pinion. Stay in camera, you fool. So there we go. And I'm doing the escapement wheel here. Make sure those little dog feet and the escapement wheel are all cleaned up. And there's the intermediate wheel, or the actually that's the seconds hand wheel, which is the 4th wheel. So I'll roll that too, clean up the pivots, and make sure that's done. And then I have the palette fork, and I just dab that just ever so slightly. No need to do a lot on that. And then the crown. I needed to do some crown work, so I took my scratch brush there and got rid of a lot of the crap from the crown. and I just rotate it and move it around and try to get that corrosion away from the crown. Then that'll prevent it from further corroding. And then I noticed that, oh, I should actually do the crown itself. I was doing the stem before, by the way, not the crown, but look at all the dirt coming out of that crown. That's human skin and dirt. So I got rid of a lot of that. Then I used Rodico again to roll it to get rid of any flakes, and pretty much that is what I did. So I'm almost done here, and just use a little bit of that fake sandpaper there to rotate that and clean the crown, get rid of the hair, and we're good to go. And that's it. And there's the cases, and still have some work to do. Thanks for watching this quick cleaning.